I know what you're thinking, another Metroidvania? Really? But wait, this one might be worth keeping an eye or a transmutated claw out for. Venture to the Vile from Cut to Bits and Aniplex Inc. is a 2.5D Metroidvania set in a Victorian era town. Everyone wears animal masks for some reason, and you get to rock the stag mask. Stylish. As you grow up and venture into the wilds, you will inevitably take a fall into spooky caves and be attacked by a terrifying horror I like to call Bob. Bob will infect you with the eponymous Vile. However, rather than kill you, it will grant you a fantastic array of abilities that will see you hacking, slashing, and jumping around the enemies, all while you try and locate your friend and take out all the infestations around your quaint little town. Story-wise, pretty standard affair. I love the way the masks give each character a unique look and feel and add a great aesthetic to the game. The setup for the wider game also lends itself well, and as the story expands, you get to understand exactly what is happening in the world, and you get a great appreciation for what the devs have put together here. The game can only get so far on the back of its story, however, and sometimes you just have to know how it plays. Well, I'm here to tell you that Venture to the Vile plays alright. The standard combat is great, with your initial attacks being a slash attack and counter. You'll quickly unlock double jump, dash moves, and more. All of these abilities work quite well in tandem, with a huge emphasis on the counter attack as something you want to perfect quite early. There is a lot of variety in the enemies, the majority of which are very well designed. Taking the time to learn their attack patterns and when to counter will set you up for great success as you progress through the game. It's not all rosy in the world of Rainybrook, as I did come across a lot of frustration in some of the combat. Fighting a few enemies at once can lead to some increased frustration, with some of the enemies being better to dodge and avoid than actually fight. I'm looking at you, Hogs.
Nope.
The spawn system of only being able to start back at your last save point can also lead to frustrating elements, as you find yourself constantly having to track down from one area to the next, only to be taken out from a random area you didn't block correctly and have to redo the whole run again. I also hit a few performance issues in my time playing through the game, with a large amount of stutter the longer I played that was only fixed by a full restart of the game. I also hit one progression breaking bug about 5 hours in that would not let me progress one of the puzzles in an area, and with a single save slot per run, there was no way to revert, leaving me with no choice but to restart. Granted, these are all things that can be patched out going forwards, and I look forward to seeing how the game progresses on that front. This wouldn't be a Metroidvania if it didn't have an upgrade system. As you can see, there are various different abilities that you can upgrade throughout your character, from your attacks, your defense, your jump skills, and more. Each one uses the items that you collect from enemies, along with major upgrades that you can find from boss fights as well. Two things that I do want to shout out are the boss fights and the puzzles. The boss fights are your classic Metroidvania style fights, with a boss taking up the majority of the screen and you having to learn their attack patterns real quick. Each of the boss fights, however, is incredibly unique, from an over-the-top juiced up rabbit to an overgrown walrus living in a cave and more. Each fight uses abilities you've been forced to learn throughout the area really well, with the walrus being a particular highlight as it has you using the 2.5D space to traverse the area. Daily, the puzzles are incredibly well designed, once again making full use of the 2.5D space to have you jumping back and forth between the different layers or using your abilities in interesting ways. Score time! For me, this game gets a 7. For the majority of my playthrough, I really enjoyed my time with the game. The setting is unique and interesting, the combat for the most part is fun, and the puzzles are incredibly well thought out. The performance issues were annoying at times, and the difficulty spikes and repeated retracing of steps was a pain. While the progression breaking bug being rare, it did sour me greatly having to replay again to that point. After finally completing the story, I love what the devs have done here, and look forward to finding the time to go back and find all those optional bosses, puzzles, and skills. Venture to the Vile is available now on Steam. Until next time, happy gaming.